So thank God for WDRB picking up this story. We're going to do an interview about PuppyGram opening up in Clarksville. And that's Jinbug and Raina and Z from WDRB. So very, very excited to get some actual mainstream media coverage before this store opens and becomes a predator on the Southern Indiana community as it was on the Louisville community before we drove them out of town by getting an ordinance passed, which Indiana's local ordinances cannot do because they preemptively passed a state law that prevents them from passing local ordinances to prevent the retail sale of pets. Just suck.
Over here in Indiana,
sucks.
They had a store in Kokomo that they were evicted from in 2022, apparently, for non-payment of rent, and a lot of news reporting, investigative complaints to the city, and animal care in Kokomo helped get them closed down in Kokomo. They have a location in Indiana, in Indianapolis still. But the more I learned about them, the more alarmed I was about them trying to set up shop here in Clarksville. So,
and it sounds like that location could be open by the end of the month. How do you see that timeline?
My first thought was, oh, this is really not good. I have a good, working relationship with, I guess, and deep respect for our town council. I live in Clarksville, near a town, and our council is very responsive. And so I immediately reached out to the town manager and to my personal town council member and said, hey, we need a local ordinance. And then I discovered, the local ordinance will do no good because the House bill went through that allows the retail sales of cats and dogs. And, I know not everybody's an adopt not shop kind of person, and that's fine, There are reputable breeders, and they take responsibility for the health and the genetic condition of their animals. And from everything I've seen about PuppyGram, and there are so many documents on the internet about what goes wrong with PuppyGram. Very, very important. So I then reached out to the mall itself, both to the owners of the mall who live in New York and to the local leasing person and manager, who's Bob McEwen, who is not only the leasing manager of the mall, but happens to be my at-large town council member. I got to say, Bob's been really responsive and has asked for more information, and I'm really grateful for that. I have filed an open records request with Indianapolis for citations and violations for the Indianapolis location, and as far as Kokomo went, it's clearly on record how this money-making enterprise that takes, puppy mill dogs and serves as a broker, makes its money. It's all about, can we sell an animal for thousands of dollars, easy payment plans available, that is in questionable health, and definitely no information about where it came from, reputable breeder, genetics, etc.
And we've been investigating PuppyGram for several years now, honestly, since at least 2023, and we found several complaints, several sick dogs. How does that make you feel? You're clearly a pet lover.
Yeah, it feels awful. In addition to my volunteer work with our local shelter, one of the things I do is I do something I call the Stitching for Good Fund, where I make things and give them away on my Patreon, and people chip in $4 a month or up, and I use all of that money to try to help meet unexpected needs with pets, whether that's emergency care, treatment for parvo, which unfortunately Pet's Choice and PuppyGram are known for, emergency surgeries, things like that. And that's just me as a private individual doing what I can to offset this. And it really distresses me because I think from what I've learned about this model, it's not people that have a lot of money to take care of their pets that want a purebred pet. It really caters, and you just look at the location, right? It's a mall. Impulse shopping. Come in, see the cute puppies, feel our high-pressure tactics, and hey, the price tag's big, but we can take care of you, And that's just a really dangerous model, and it's targeted toward people that may not have the ongoing resources to provide both appropriate vetting down the road, but also to, really deal with some of the issues that have come up with PuppyGram dogs. And they're going to get surrendered to the shelter, if they're not dumped. And I've actually helped twice this year already with dogs that with Tara's help, actually, I traced the microchip to the breeders that are behind this sort of thing. And they were contacted. They don't want anything to do with the dog. They won't take the dog back, and somebody paid $3,500 to $5,000 for each of those dogs I'm talking about.
And obviously, PuppyGram has had a lot of issues in the past, and this is something that necessarily we're excited for to come to Greentree. Greentree doesn't have as much going on inside of it as it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't as many shops and things. And I'm sure Greentree itself was probably a little bit excited to have a new business come in.
Yeah.
You're saying that you've talked to them and they're asking for a little bit more information about what's going on with PuppyGram. What are your thoughts on, in general, more businesses coming to Greentree?
I was at Greentree very recently with our shelter. We did a pop-up there. And with not only this shelter, but other southern Indiana agencies. And I was so grateful to Greentree for allowing us to come into one of their retail spaces. And adoptions were great that day. It was a really wonderful event. Malls, as more and more people shift to online shopping, are, suffering. And actually the company that has bought Greentree Mall is known for, coming and taking control of suffering malls. If I were in their shoes, though, I'd be really concerned about that 2022 eviction from Kokomo of Pet's Choice, which was the prior name for PuppyGram, being evicted for non-payment of rent.
And you brought up a good point with the adoption event and how, a lot of malls do those, and they're really good because the dogs there, that's a good way for people to introduce those dogs. Do you think events like that won't be able to happen as often at Greentree if they already have PuppyGram? Do you think they'll create any kind of competition?
I haven't really given that any thought, but since you raised the subject of adoption, one of the things that really does get my goat about PuppyGram is, and you'll see this if you visit their website, as I have, they are billing themselves as an adoption agency, and they are so not. And actually, if you work through their website, you'll start to see the word purchase, but right on that landing page, man, it has, adopt a dog from us. And of course, we all feel good if we can adopt a dog. But I want people to be really clear, that's not what's happening.
And then, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Of my head, I really do encourage folks to not knee-jerk react to, these people are against buying dogs. I'm not against buying dogs. I have friends with purebred dogs. Do your research. Get them from a breeder that has a contract that says, I will stand behind this dog and I will take this dog back if something happens in your life that this dog is not going to end up in a shelter. But our shelters are overcrowded. We get lots of purebred dogs here at Jeffersonville Animal Shelter. So I really encourage people to resist the marketing, and I really hope Greentree Mall and our town council will have some conversations about whether this is an appropriate tenant. And if it's too late to do anything about that, I am going to be encouraging our council, and of course I know our animal control will be on this, to make sure that the dogs, which tend not to be taken care of within these stores, if you look at some of the reports, you'll see dogs covered in feces, dogs visibly sick, dogs with respiratory infections. So, that's not good for the little cute puppies. That's real dangerous stuff. So I hope, if this is already too far gone to stop, which I hope it isn't, that our local public officials would be very proactive in doing the due diligence and supervision of this known bad business. So very welcome.
My turn.
Yeah. I need to see if that was the foster thing. Of course.
Don't put your fingers in front of the thing.
I don't know if that helps you. Hopefully it stays like it. Maybe like a little different.
Must be feeding time. Or there are people in the shelter getting ready to walk animals, which is the best part. We have a great relationship with this shelter too. It's a smaller shelter than Louisville, but they have a mighty crew of volunteers and advocates.
Oh yeah, when I went to adopt my dog, I got her from LNAS, but I came here to see what they had to.
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
All right. Would you mind saying the spell your name for us?
Tara Bassett, Tarabassett, and I'm an animal welfare advocate.
And so, can I ask, what are your thoughts on PuppyGram coming to Greentree Mall?
I feel like I'm battling from the beginning all over again because I was on the front lines when they tried to come to Louisville. I made requests of the city not to give them an operating license, and that was rebuffed. So it turned into protests, and then it turned into the guy actually calling the police and kicking me off the property when I went to live stream and let them give their side of the story when I covered the protests. I have absolutely incredible anecdotal stories from people who adopted, and they keep saying that I rescued a dog from PuppyGram, and I said, no, you just enabled them to continue to buy hundreds more sick puppy mill dogs to sell to an unsuspecting public. And I have all these anecdotal experiences with people who bought from PuppyGram and other comparable retail pet stores and have had to pay thousands of dollars in vet bills if they survive, who've had to deal with behavioral issues because they were taken away from their moms too soon. The phrase adopt, don't shop is very, very specific. Take in dogs that have been born without homes, abandoned, and dumped. Don't finance a dog through a store like you would a computer at Best Buy. It is absolutely the most cruel and inhumane thing to do with the number of animals we have running the streets, and I pick them up every day. I beg for fosters for those dogs. I save their lives. I pick up the dead ones on the expressway and at least give them a dignified exit. And to be selling animals with a marketing plan as Jen Bug described is just horrendously inhumane.
And in the state of Indiana, you know about Clarksville, Greentree Mall.
Yes.
That passed. So they can't have any local ordinances like Louisville passed. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, I can tell you that Metro Council Representative Stuart Benson and his amazing aide, Angela Webster, are the ones who drove that legislation through Louisville Metro Council with the help of other Metro Council members, and I appreciate them so much. They saw what was happening, and they took action. And this has been done in numerous cities. There is an entire list of the cities that have banned the retail sales of pets. Elizabethtown, Radcliffe, Lexington, and others among them. Louisville stepped up and did what was necessary with the help of Kentucky Animal Action and other organizations. Indiana has crippled the ability of local ordinances to be written to prevent the retail sale of pets. But there are a lot of other things they can do. I also suggest you talk to Louisville Metro Animal Services, because I personally know that thousands of dollars in fines, citations, were issued to PuppyGram when they were on the Hurstbourne Lane address. I also want to call attention to the fact that the manager at Greentree Mall, Bob, has been extremely open and receptive to receiving information from us. Didn't seem to have a lot of background on it. But I think one of the things that appalls me is that the strip mall that PuppyGram was in on Hurstbourne Lane is actually managed by someone who was in charge of one of the largest animal rescues for severely abused, tortured, and neglected animals. And how they could rent space to a puppy mill purveyor to sell thousands of dollars of dogs at predatory lending rates is beyond me. I hope Greentree Mall is better than that.
And so, how does the ordinance itself make you feel? Could you just give us a little background? What's the emotion it brings?
The state legislature in Indiana was completely disrespectful of the local ordinances that could have been written to prevent the retail sales of pets. And I really hope that someone will help to overturn that state legislation, because cities should have the right to make those decisions for their own particular constituents. It should not be a statewide law.
And then, I feel like we covered a lot. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, as I said, I pick up dogs every day. I have a remarkable team of volunteers who goes out for no pay, risks their lives, risks their health, their safety, to save dogs that are loose on the streets. So my key message to everyone is snip, chip, tag, contain. Neuter your pets, put in a microchip and keep it updated. Put a tag on your dog's collar and keep it on whether you give them a bath or not. And please walk your dogs on leash and fix your fences and gates. Snip, chip, tag, contain. It's a comprehensive model to keep your dogs safe and keep dogs from being euthanized due to overcrowding in our shelters.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for making time.
Thank you for taking the time. We need mainstream media coverage. My live streams don't do nearly as much as getting that blast out there from one of you guys, and I appreciate you for doing it. Thanks for taking the interest. And I wore my Seth shirt today. We don't only do dogs and cats. It's actually coming up on the anniversary because we caught Seth, who was the last of the 10 bulls that got out in Cherokee Park. We rounded up a number of them. There were 4 left. The wranglers came in, caught 3 of them, and then Seth was loose for a month.
Wow.
And Becky and Greg Strife from Tribe Animal Sanctuary and I came out, and we literally fed that bull down on Beargrass Creek to keep him there safe until we could get the wranglers back to catch him. And that day was like Yellowstone in Louisville. It was the most spectacular live I've ever done. And he was secured and taken to Tribe to live his life out. And he is now neutered. And he's an integral part of Tribe. And we rolled in there on Friendsgiving.
No.
Yep, the vegan sanctuary, and we're bringing them a bull.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it was.
You have a lot of cool stories.
I do. Somebody said to me yesterday, why don't you write a book? And I said, when am I going to have time? I'll have Jen ghostwrite it for me. All right, you guys, we're done. We want to thank WDRB for coming up and meeting us at Jeffersonville Animal Shelter. Jen Bug and I are very, very disturbed that this gruesome store is trying to take up residence just across the river from where they haunted us in Louisville for 5 years. And I really appreciate Raina for reaching out to me and Z for coming with her and giving us an opportunity to say our piece about what we think will happen if PuppyGram is allowed to open in Clarksville, just a few miles away from Louisville. People will cross the bridge and spend thousands of dollars on sick puppy mill dogs who are being manufactured solely for the purpose of profit. And when somebody says, this is all bullshit, as somebody did on my live yesterday or my post yesterday, this is all bullshit. I adopted a perfectly healthy dog from PuppyGram. She's the best dog we've ever had. Well, you're the exception, Cindy. You are the exception, because that does not happen. I have so many stories of people who bought dogs that went straight to the emergency vet and didn't survive, or went straight to the emergency vet and cost thousands of dollars to save. So please don't regale me with your individual stories about your happiness and success, because I know you're all coming from PuppyGram. Just like when we all invaded their page when they came to Louisville and they blocked every one of us. And bad reviews were left and they got those removed. And I didn't even think you could get those removed. So don't tell me about your success stories with PuppyGram dogs. This woman told me she found out who the breeder was. She found out who the parents were, and I said, did you go visit? Did you go see the conditions? They have these bucolic pictures of family farms where these dogs are raised with this lovely little mom and dad and kids in the sunshine by the picnic table and the beautiful little puppies that they're raising. That is not the reality. That's stock photos. These are pits. They are dumps. They are full of garbage, and they are filthy. And that's what those puppies are being born in and raised up till they can get them into the stores and then sold. So all I can tell you is don't believe the hype. Adopt, really. Don't shop. There are purebred dogs all over the shelters right now because so many people are giving up their dogs. And pregnant dogs come in and they have a whole litter of puppies. What are we supposed to do with them? What are shelter employees supposed to do with those dogs? It's absolutely heartbreaking. So thank you to Ginbug. Thank you to WDRB. I'm sure you're going to be seeing more. And really, thanks to Greentree Mall for hearing what we have to say. We appreciate you. Thank you, John. And John was live streaming for me. Thanks, guys.